It's a real privilege for me to introduce again two individuals that are running for assembly. This is not an opportunity to endorse. This is being hosted by our library and a educational event. There are, I think, three sets of candidates for the District 37 assembly seats that are running for public office. And this is do you call it, Yitz, a bracketing candidates? Are you bracketing with one another, or there's no more bracket?
There is bracketing. Rose and I decided to run bracketed together so that when the county clerk um, pulled the order in the columns out of the hat, that way we would be alongside each other. So that, and I believe the other two pairs chose that as well. So that,
Okay,
yes.
so wonderful. So please introduce yourself. Tell us, each of you, a little bit about yourselves. I have a series of questions. We'll open it up to the panel, and I thank you for joining us from the great metropolis of Teaneck.
Okay. So thank you again for having us. And
Pleasure.
it sounds like things are going well in the great city of Englewood. And it's really a pleasure to be here. A little bit about myself. My name is Yitz. I've been a Teaneck resident since I was married 45 years ago. Um, we had and raised our four children in Teaneck, along with some of our grandchildren. For the past 35 years, I've been involved politically in and around Teaneck, Bergen County, and the state of New Jersey. In 1990, I was appointed to the Board of Adjustment in Teaneck, where I spent 8 years. And in 1998, I was elected to council, where I spent 12 years. And since 1998 as well, for the past 27 years, I've been on the Teaneck Planning Board, where I currently am a member. I also did a short stint of, I believe it was a term, representing the Planning Board on the Environmental Commission. And at the county level, I spent some time on the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund Committee Board on Bergen County, which helps, as you know, distribute municipal open space trust fund money throughout the county in terms of parks and rehabilitation and the purchase of land and so on and so forth. I also have the privilege of serving at the state level, now appointed by two separate governors as a commissioner on the New Jersey State Commission on Holocaust Education, which some may know, some may not know. New Jersey is a leader in Holocaust education, where it has a mandated program in K through 12 schools for Holocaust education. I also did a one term on the New Jersey Israel Commission, which is a commission that was created by the governor to foster trade, economic exchange, and cultural exchange between the state of New Jersey and the state of Israel. So
Thank
I
you.
have a fair
Thank you.
amount of experience at every level of government.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about your educational background too, please.
Well, I hold a master's degree, and I hold a master's degree in administrative science from Fairleigh Dickinson University. It's sort of like an MBA for sort of like government officials. Um, I'm a certified public manager in the state of New Jersey, also via the state of New Jersey and Fairleigh Dickinson University. I've In terms of education, I've spent the last 20 years now, almost 20 years now this fall, as an adjunct professor of business at Fairleigh Dickinson, where I've taught a variety of business courses, running the gamut from law, ethics, marketing management, human resource management, business communication, and a host of other things.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's robust service. You almost sound tired after you say things in strides of 20 and 30 and 40, but that's wonderful. Rosemary, give us a sense of your background, please.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful to be
Pleasure.
here. So my name is Rosemary Hernandez Carroll, and I'm running for District 37 Assembly alongside Yitz. I'm the daughter of Dominican immigrants, born and raised here in Hackensack. Um, what else can I tell you? I've gone through the entire Hackensack school system. I now am a realtor here in town. I own a small business, and I'm raising my family here as well.
Wonderful. Have you been involved in any civic groups in Hackensack through your experience?
Not in any official capacity. However, I've spent my life rooted in service, helping people achieve home ownership and mentoring people on how to get out of debt.
Terrific. And tell us a little bit about your educational background.
I have a bachelor's degree from Berkeley College in business administration with a minor in marketing.
Terrific. Wonderful. Thank you. How are politics in Hackensack? Did you ever think of getting involved first in a local municipal experience, or just decided to jump to the district?
No, I'm jumping into the district. Absolutely.
Might as well throw yourself all in. So
All in, all in this.
you're both running for the New Jersey General Assembly in District 37. What inspired each of you to enter this race, and why now? Let's start with you, Rosemary.
Well, as I mentioned, I spent my life rooted in service from watching my parents service the community in different capacities. My father owns a small business here in town for, I want to say, about 40 years. And my mother worked in town as well. I've always seen them help out others, and I've always done that myself. Um, and I'm running now, I would say, because too many voices in our district have gone unheard. And with the rising cost of living and the ongoing social divides um, there are questions about where we're heading, right? And I was asked by my community, and I no longer want to be on the sidelines.
Thank you, Rosemary. How about yourself, Yitz?
Well, I've been around the block a few times politically, and I've been encouraged by, if you look at our endorsements, I've been encouraged by, local elected officials and community leaders throughout the district to run. The Why now? Look, as politically things have changed. There's no longer a line in the primary, and until now, you had the blessing of the local organization, you had the line, so to speak, and that is no longer the case. And it gives an opportunity for people that are not, so entrenched to be able to get out there and meet people. I've been speaking to people in every town in the district, leaders in every town in the district. There's 10 towns in District 37. Including the great city of Englewood, of course. And I've been speaking to leaders up and down the district, and the issue that comes up is that people are concerned about current leadership. They're concerned about not seeing. First of all, most people don't even know who their assembly people are. That may not necessarily be entirely the fault of the assembly people, but many people have told me that they're very concerned about not seeing their assembly people in all 10 towns of the district, and they see them before elections. And I think it's important to be out there, and if you're an elected official at the district level, you need to be present in the district and show up in the district. And showing up, the first step to being successful in the district is showing up and being there.
Very.
Rosemary, District 37 is incredibly diverse, culturally, economically, religiously. How does your background help you connect with the different communities you help to serve, Rosemary?
Well, as I mentioned, I was born and raised here in Hackensack, and I understand the immigrant story, the single parent story, and just the struggle of every day, like the hustle and bustle. I speak the language of, well, I wanted to say I speak Spanish fluently, but most importantly, I am empathetic, and I think I have the qualities to connect with people across like different cultures and religions and income levels.
Thank you. There's been a lot of talk about affordability in New Jersey. Rosemary, what specific ideas do you have to help families and seniors who are struggling to stay here rather than having to move out of the community?
Mm.
I mean, I could say that in terms of affordability and so on and so forth. I mean, Rosemary's a realtor, so she deals with these issues on a day-to-day basis. I mean, affordability is a big problem. I can talk personally. I told you I raised my 4 kids here. None of them can afford to live in Bergen County. And when you have, obviously we're talking about development, responsible development, and when you sit down with a developer, when a planning board sits down with a developer, when a town council sits down with a developer to plan a major development, they need to be able to negotiate with the developer and get whatever they can from that developer in terms of affordable housing and senior housing. I mean, the developers.
What idea do you have to help families and seniors in the assembly level, not on the municipal level, though, Yitz?
Just the importance of encouraging towns to get the responsible development done with developers. I mean, it's all a negotiation. At the assembly level, I mean, we could work on property taxes. It's a tough nut to crack. It's easier said than done. But I mean, in terms of the assembly level, I think it's important that we be able to get out there and make things more affordable all around, whether in terms of getting state money, more state money down to the local level, or to the county level down to the local level. There's a lot of stuff to talk about and think about. It's a very, very large and complex organization, the state that we live in.
Thank you. Let's turn now to public safety. That also, particularly with all the anti-Semitism, the hatred that we've seen to other communities through the years, it's on the top of the mind of many voters. Rosemary, what are your thoughts on improving safety in the district in all of the towns?
Well, safety is not just something that's physical. It's also something very emotional, and it's very important for Yitz and I. In the rise of all this, anti-Semitism, for people to feel like safe and heard. Our goal is to join our communities together. That's why Yitz and I are running together, and just come up with some ideas where we can make the public feel safe, heard, and respected.
And Mayor, as you know, I've spent the last 25 years working in public safety up at the Bergen County Police Fire and EMS Academy. You're an EMT, so you know a little bit about that training. And I mean, we're concerned about, Rosemary mentioned anti-Semitism, which is one of our priorities in Trenton. Anti-Semitism is really, a great concern. As I always tell people, anti-Semitism, not put into check, not reined in, not, gotten rid of, it leads to all other types of isms.
Tell us, Yitz, because you do have a lot of experience in this space. With the disturbing rise in anti-Semitism, with the horrendous terrorist act that occurred earlier this week, hate crimes across the region, how would you specifically work to combat hate and promote unity? It's such a laudatory thing that Rosemary spoke of, to bring the Spanish and the Jewish community together, for example, with all the minorities and all the different communities that you have. What would you specifically do to combat hate and promote unity?
Sit down with the various stakeholders up and down the state, or up and down the county, or up and down the district, and sit down around a table and talk about the issues that concern us. I mean, obviously the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, which is a priority, like I said, in the state, which we hope to be able to, I hope it comes to a vote before we get to the assembly, but it's very, very, very important, because anti-Semitism, like I said, leads to other stuff. And I will tell you that, having been at the police academy here since the year 2000, I mean, law enforcement professionals are looking for, when a policeman or a law enforcement professional charges you with a crime, they know what burglary means. They know what speeding means. They know what harassment means, but they don't have a clear definition of what anti-Semitism means. And I think law enforcement professionals, want to have some sort of clear definition, so that when there's an issue, when there's a problem, when anti-Semitism rears its ugly head, or any other type of ism that rears its ugly head, they have a clear definition of what it actually means, so that they know when they need to step in, or when they need to step back. Obviously, we live in a society that's very open, and there's a lot of freedoms we afford our citizens, but there needs to be certain limits.
So a a post early this morning. It was so disturbing. It was a person in the kafia saying that it was perfectly um, resistance to kill that young couple in front of the Jewish Museum because they were Zionists. This was not an attack on Jews; it was an attack on Zionists.
Let me make
So brainwashed to feel that it's an acceptable ism, if you
right.
would,
Let, let, let,
otherwise.
let me make it perfectly clear, Mayor, and I think you'll agree on this. Anti-Zionism, anti-Israelism is just another form of anti-Semitism. That's
Correct.
all it is.
And
That's all it is.
putting in false narratives the world over that Israel would stop food and humanitarian aid so that this is a resistance kind of reaction, is something that deploys itself in the phones and the screens and in the minds of people that are going to all these college campuses these days. Rosemary, this is so hard uh, for people to kind of get, but I have the sense in the little that you've spoken so lovingly about your parents, that their DNA is helping others, and that the immigrant experience is something that you grew up in. How do you bring that home, Rosemary? How would you bring that home?
I think it's important to just educate our community on the different cultures and diversities. Um,
So
really,
getting people in front of one another takes away the mystique, and they'll respect one another by being more entrenched in things. So what would you do? What would you host if you were successful in achieving this office?
I would. Well, we've spoken a lot about this at the different meet and greets that we've held, and it seems to me that our community. Someone once mentioned to me that our communities are like two ships in the night, right? Um, and it's important for me and for Yitz to be able to somehow bring these communities together. We've spoken about different activities. Learning, I want to say that learning hate to hate someone begins at home at a very, very early age. And Yitz and I want to create programs that will allow our children to get to know one another, at different levels. I want to bring education about different cultures into the schools because that's extremely important.
Look, Mayor, as you know, District 37 really is, as you said earlier, a melting pot. Rose would be the first Latino representative in the district, I believe, ever.
Really?
And
Wow.
and
We never, it's amazing that the district is so.
and you might know better than me what the percentage. I think the percentage of Hispanics in the district is probably in the 20s somewhere, is my guess.
And it's such a hard community, Rosemary, to get active and to take stations. I see it when I make appointments and when people are thinking of running for office. Sorry to cut you off, Yitz, but Rosemary, how do
Uh-huh.
we get more people in the Spanish community involved in the political process?
First of all, we have to make sure that they're not fearful about coming out, right? That's the first step. Right now, I see in my community that a lot of people are hesitant to speak up, hesitant to come out. We need to find a way to make them feel safe so that we can make them feel heard, and therefore they'd be more willing to come out and participate.
I use this anecdote, everybody. We had Englewood Day, Englewood Community Day. The sheriff officer came with a beautiful tent and regalia for the kids to do things. But from a distance, what the Spanish community saw were police uniforms and German Shepherd dogs when they came to the fair. We weren't thinking out of the box that that presence might intimidate where it might give comfort to another community. And that notion of how immigration has had a market effect in the confidence in the self-esteem of a community is something that the leaders can bring forward. So I think your experience, both of you, speaks to this ethos, something that I feel instinctively in our great city in Englewood as well.
And right, Mayor, obviously you have a lot of experience in the area of immigration. and you speak with a lot of knowledge and background in that, and that's very, very important. The important is to reach out, is to reach across. It's true when you're negotiating a development with a developer. It's true when you're negotiating all types of issues that go on in the town and in the district and the county.
But
And
it's so it's weird, but we're sitting where we have had a lot of education, we have a lot of confidence, and despite the challenges, we will run for office. The Spanish community has to develop that confidence, that strength, whether it's from the Jewish community, the Black community, or other communities, because it needs to have somebody at the table. And there's no excuse that until they're comfortable, they're not going to get there. We have to make sure that people are seated at the table so that there is representation that adequately suits
correct.
the interests.
Remember, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So be careful. And
I never heard that before.
yeah,
That's
if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So
let me open this up to the rest of the panel if there's any questions from anybody here in the gallery. Any questions for Yitz or Rosemary running for District 37? Robert, yes?
Yitz, I had my original question, which I always ask every candidate in New York or New Jersey. Why now? But the mayor, as usual, stole my thunder. He is always ahead of everybody. But I would like to ask you, sir, I am constantly amazed in my 7 decades of travels how many people do not really understand the concept of church and state. And now you are heavily involved in Holocaust education. But I am sure that many people, even now, after all these years, accuse you of mixing church and state and do not understand. You're not teaching Judaism. You're teaching the effects and monstrous effects of the Holocaust.
Thank you,
And
Robert.
how
Thank
that
you,
came
Robert.
about.
I have a good sense then. How do you manage, Yitz, the notion of church and state, being an observant Jew, wearing a kippah, so that people understand that you would execute on your duties as an assemblyman if sworn?
look, as an assemblyman, if and when sworn, part of the oath is to uphold the Constitution of the state of New Jersey, Constitution of the United States, which includes separation of church and state. I just want to remind you that the Holocaust was not only a Holocaust against Jews, and the Holocaust education that the state mandates in K through 12 public schools, okay, and the curriculum that we, along with the teachers, put together is not only for a Jewish curriculum. It has nothing to do with church and state. Holocaust, may have killed 6 million plus Jews, but it killed millions and millions. Forget about the veterans and soldiers that were killed, but millions and millions of other people. So that was something perpetrated against humanity, not only against Judaism.
Thank you. It's a very smart answer. Very smart answer. It's because of Governor McGreevey that the high schools now mandate Holocaust studies in the high school curriculum. And because of Memorial Day, which I would like to invite everybody again to Monday, that we in Englewood have Tuskegee Airmen, Black bombardiers, that then released Jews that were held in concentration camps during World War II. That we have, when it comes to love of country and nation, a notion that if you pray on a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday, it doesn't matter so long as we respect the Constitution, that you artfully articulated. Thank you, Yitz. Henry.
Washington had his hand up.
Yeah, Henry.
Unmute.
Thank you so very much. And thank you again for coming to attend the Zoom session with us. But I just have 2 questions in regards to affordable housing. One would be for the people who are on subsidies, because as a real estate agent, I've run into many problems with people with subsidies where the credit check immediately disqualifies them, from being able to look or be received with their application and get certain places for rentals or homes that they're looking at. And one of the
what's the second question, Henry?
Yeah, but I was just going to say one of my concerns about that is that would you have something in place, or would you be thinking about trying to create something that would actually help prevent credit checks, where considering the money is actually going to be guaranteed in a sense from the person providing the subsidy, or I should say the organization providing the subsidy. In my mind, that's where the credit check should be going, against the organization providing the subsidy, because they actually do look at what they're contributing when they make that decision.
That's question one. And what's question two?
And question two would actually go to looking at, we currently understand that we have a deficit in New Jersey of about 200,000 homes for ownership. So one of the things that I'm wondering, considering that one of the developers I spoke to in one of the towns in Bergen County, and actually I think he was on our Zoom session in the early COVID days, he indicated that banks were only willing to finance rentals for development of rental projects. And and one of the bigger things that's driving the high increase in the housing market would be the supply and demand. We've got very few homes available for purchase, so that drives up the price, which in turn is driving up the rental prices too.
Okay, so that's credit and housing. Yes.
I mean, in terms of credit, I mean, any agency that's, I'm not that familiar with the topic, but any agency that subsidizes a loan, I mean, obviously it's some sort of, I assume it's some sort of government agency. I don't know that you would have to necessarily run a credit check on them, but I mean, look, there's a certain amount, there still is a certain amount of responsibility that a purchaser needs to take upon themselves if they have to pick up, whatever percentage it is of the purchase price or the rental price. So they have to be able to prove that they can. I'm not sure I understand. Are you looking to eliminate a credit check entirely?
Let's, if you don't mind.
Let Rose would know more.
Rosemary, and then Rosemary also addressed the housing. I want to get to Diane and to Brian, and we got to wrap soon. So I want everybody to have a chance. Rosemary.
Henry, I think you've made a very good point. As a realtor, it's been extremely difficult to work with clients who are getting some sort of assistance, mainly, like you said, because of their credit. I did hear recently, actually, it was a rental that I was showing, and the person was coming from Florida, and he mentioned to me that he was extremely surprised to hear that in New Jersey there are credit checks in order to get an apartment. So honestly, the credit check is one of the reasons why we're having so many issues placing people who are on assistance. And I would like there to be some sort of some sort of law that prohibits people that are on assistance, right, from getting the credit check. I think that would be extremely helpful.
Rosemary, what about affordable housing?
What was your question? I'm sorry, on affordable housing?
Henry, in one line.
Yeah, I just had to find the unmute button. I just wanted to, my question on affordable housing would basically, it's really, can we find a way to create some type of ratio where when we look at new developments, we can control how many rentals are being built in comparison to places for ownership? Because if we have a higher amount of ownership, of available ownership, then we will actually have a lower price when it comes to what's available on the market, due to the supply and demand.
I didn't understand the racial part of
the
that,
ratio.
Ratio, not racial.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got to get the wax out of
that's
my
actually. Let me answer.
And that could have been me.
That's pretty similar. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's all part of the negotiation with the developer. In other words, if you give the developer, and it has to be a give and take, not just give the developer everything, but it has to be a give and take. It has to be worth it for the developer. I understand that, but it also, if you encourage them somehow, there's other financial reasons why developments are mostly rentals now, not sale. But if you give the developer enough encouragement and incentive to create more units for sale, then they'll do that. It just has to be worth their while. It's all part of that negotiation.
And I think one of the
point, Henry, I think, is that you want to get what you want out of this. You don't want to just go with the market flow, and
Right.
then we're sitting there with people making money, sleeping in other communities, and we're jammed up with the wrong thing for the community.
Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with making money, but but it has to work sort of like as best as you can for everyone.
Terrific.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
one of the things that I think you may have missed
Henry, if
that I
you don't-
mentioned was
don't
the
be
banks
offended.
were only allowing for the financing of rentals.
I can't
Right.
comment on that. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
but
comment.
the banks have to be brought into control too, Henry.
Correct. That's what I just
So,
wanted to make sure that
yeah.
he heard that portion too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Henry, I wanted to say that.
Let's, if you don't mind, Rosemary, there are 3 people now that want to speak with limited time, so I'm going to put people on a 2-minute kind of scale so I can get everybody. Diane, you were next. What's going on?
I think Brian Cobb was next. I'm sorry.
Oh, Brian, sure.
I'd like to defer. Thank you.
The young lady from the second ward refers to the gentleman, Brian. Brian, you're up. What's up?
First, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. First of all, good morning, everybody. Still morning. Thank you for this platform. I think this is a very good event, very insightful. Just a quick question, just for both candidates. What have both of you done to really reach out to the Hispanic and African American community? I know, Miss Carroll, you said something about social division. I know you said you were born and raised in Hackensack. I'm not sure if you still live in Hackensack. And I know Hackensack, you guys had a serious racial issue around October of last year with the councilman yelling racial slurs at the Black soccer coach. So I just want to know, what are you guys doing for the Black and Brown community?
Brian, excellent question. Let's limit the answers, guys, please. Rosemary, go.
What was the question? What are we doing for the what?
To the Black and Brown community and the division.
To reach out to the Black and Hispanic and African American communities. What are you guys doing?
Well, this is why I'm running, right? Because I want to be a representative for the Black and Brown community and everyone else in between. Like we said before, we don't have a seat at the table at the moment, and I will be when I'm voted in. I'm going to be the first Latina representative, and so the first step is to have a seat at that table.
Thank you, Yitz.
Yeah, but yes, Mr. Cobb. Yeah, we had Rosemary and I had a very robust, informative, and educational conversation with some of the leadership of the NAACP in Bergen County just last week before last, and we had a very, very good and informative discussion about the issues that face the Black and Brown community. They are very similar issues that face not only the Black and Brown community, but also a lot of other minority communities throughout the district. And I think that it's another set of issues that we need to work on when we are elected to the assembly.
Thank you, Yitz. Diane.
Yes, my questions surround socioeconomics and environmental justice, especially as it affects the people who need affordable housing. And
What's the question, Dave?
so my question is, how do you propose that we stop building in flood-prone areas in affordable housing that affect people who are least able to recover from flooding? And also,
Okay, no, that's good. Yitz, how would you answer that?
I mean, that's a good question. Actually, that's one of the topics we discussed actually with the NAACP leadership a couple of weeks ago. And look, building in flood-prone areas, obviously there are certain legal flood zones where you cannot build, but if building in flood-prone areas, it is a responsibility of the local and county government to make sure that when a proposal comes in, I've spent the last 35 years either on the zoning board or the planning board in Teaneck. It's the responsibility of local government and the county government, in the case of county areas, county roads, and so on. It's their responsibility to make sure that developments are not placed in those types of areas. And if they need to be placed in those areas legitimately, okay, that the proper drain engineering calculations and drainages and all that other kind of stuff are done not only just to the letter of the law, so to speak, but in a flood-prone area, maybe even to more than the letter of the law, so that you don't have the issue and
But
concern.
you would allow it to be done so long as it exceeded what the minimum requirements of the DEP would be.
And you have,
Thank you.
that's correct. That's why we
Thank
have that's what we have professionals for.
Thank you. I want to get everybody in. David, what was your question?
Hi, it's good to be back after a couple of years not being here. But it's not a question, it's more of a comment. It's great to see them two getting together. Me, as being also Hispanic, is just a win just by having two different communities coming together, running together. That is
Thank you, David, for joining us and for that combination, that sense of unity that they portend to you and all of us for that matter. Ignacio.
Unmute yourself, sir.
Yep, I put it in the chat, but I'll ask again. I want to ask if your position's on school vouchers.
Thank you. Yitz, school vouchers, for or against?
Can you be a little bit more specific on school?
Taking public funds to support private schools.
I have no problems taking public funds to support private schools as long as it has nothing to do with religious education.
Rosemary, how do you feel about it?
I also have no problem with it as long as it doesn't affect the funds going into our public schools.
Thank you, Rosemary. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We have two wonderful candidates out of 6 wonderful candidates for a position of extraordinary trust. We had a chance to speak to the incumbents who were with us for a session just like this. Henry, I think you're going to try to get the other 2 candidates in if we can still do it, so that we'll have heard from all 6 candidates for this important coveted position. Today, we had a chance to speak with Yitz, who's 45 years married, by the way. I thought that was remarkable. You put that at the top of the list.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Right. 35 active in Teaneck, Board of Adjustment for 9 years, City Council there for 12 years, Planning Board for 27 years, and also teaching as an adjunct professor for 20 years. Rosemary, with that robust immigrant background, living in Hackensack, rooted in not only getting families to feel the self-esteem, getting out of debt and home purchasing, having a bachelor's in Berkeley, parents with a small business for 40 years, helping others being part of her DNA, which is what I drew from your words, and serving that underserved community, and most importantly, emblematic of trying to bring the Jewish and Spanish community together. I can't tell you how impactful this session is to hear from residents, from leaders in the community concerned about the Black and brown, the Black community, the Spanish community, the Jewish community, and all these wonderful issues that come forward, from affordable housing to credit and all the other issues that affect day-to-day life in our beautiful county. So this was very impactful. I want to thank Englewood Library, David, for hosting us, and I hope that people will be in touch with you if they have further questions. With us at City Hall, I want to thank the noble police, fire, ambulance, health department, hospital, public works, personnel, and all the myriad of residents that have been in touch with me in this past week. If we can help improve your life, we'd be happy to do it. Please understand that there are a lot of people that are emboldened by social media, but when you want to separate fact from fiction and get the true facts, it's so important that we hear directly from candidates. We hope and pray that if you're successful, you'll come back to us and visit us for another coffee with the mayor session and tell us about all the wonderful laudatory things that you set out to do. And we wish you Godspeed to you and to your families, and that many of the things that you pray that will happen on your watch.
Amen.
Thank you.
A good weekend, everybody. A good Shabbos. Thank you for your participation.